Hello, everyone. Now, this looks a little bit different because it's not just me you're looking at. I also got a fine-looking brother to my side over here who's going to introduce himself in a second. But like I said many times, going into the channel, going into the show, I wanted to eventually get some other Reds on here, and whether not even just Reds, but other football fans that sort of are in line with myself in terms of how we want to be put across on socials. And we're not going to be doing all the toxic crap that you always see online. And the eagle-eyed amongst you might remember a little show we did, oh god, maybe 2 weeks ago, where this gentleman next to me, right there, he said, I said to him, do you want to join on the show? And he said, run it, bro, let's go. And here he is. So introduce yourself, my brother.
I mean, first of all, shout out Dev. Thank you for having me on. It's great to be on. Name's Nixon. You can find me on Instagram, on YouTube, in the description below. You'll sometimes see me on DR Sports. You'll sometimes see me on FootMob. Support United. Have done since I was very little, and it was not my choice. I enjoyed it when I was it wasn't. Loved it when I was a kid. It was brilliant. But the last 13 years have been rough sailing, to say the least.
It's been tough. I'm sure we'll get into it all for sure. Yeah. But first of all, before we kick things off, bro, DR Sports, tell me about that. I've been seeing you plastered all over that, flying the Man United flag. How's that been?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. A few watch-alongs, a few FPL shows. I found myself on an FPL show talking about giving people advice. I'm like, I don't know if I'm qualified to give people FPL advice, but I'll do it. So yeah, no, it's been good doing watch-alongs and stuff. So just getting into the groove of things. Hopefully, go on a few more shows. So yeah, you'll hopefully catch me on there a few more times.
Nice one. How's the FPL going, by the way? How's your team
looking? It's not great. You know, how's your? I mean, like I started with Salah instead of Haaland. Haaland was the better. It's been terrible. Bruno missed the penalty. I have him. It's not
good. But do you know what? I said this rule, yeah, and I've still kept to this rule. I guarantee no one else in my league has, but I set up a league because everyone else told me to. I'll be honest, I did not care. I did not want to set up a league, but I did it anyway. Are you in the league? Bro, I've said this before. I don't care about FPL. So if you win the league, don't worry. I've still got a nice little gift for whoever wins and whoever gets like certain. If you hit like the high percentage per week, I'll try and sort something out as well. But anyway, like I did that, and then I said the rule should be if you should set up a team and then that's it. I don't want you doing random transfers every single week. I don't want you looking at who could they be playing against. No, do your subs all you want, but I want you to tell me who's going to smash it at the beginning and then get it right. I genuinely think it should be that, but no one agreed with me. So
and it's so hard to be a sort of casual player and still do well because the guys who really care are, you know, having their transfers planned, having their chips planned. All this and that, so it gets competitive, especially the later on you go. It gets proper sway.
Exactly. I can't look at this as well. By Quokey straight away, I want to join. Where is the code, bro? I'll put it at the end. Don't worry, we'll get something, I'm sure. But Solham is in here saying, "Dev, how are you in the fam?" And that is for, if you don't know, a guy called Luke who should be joining us pretty soon. He joins in every single show, and it doesn't feel right to kick off the show without someone saying, "Dev, how are you?" and the fam. I am well. The fam is doing well. Going through a bit of a sticky time, but we are strong. We are keeping in there. And the weather's nice today, so at least we got to go outside. The dog is doing well. I'm sure you will agree. And like I said, like Nick said, actually, go and check out the links in the description. Go and follow him. Check out all of his stuff. We've done a few videos together on FootMob. I'm sure later this season we'll continue to do quite a 100%. Lot more. But, brother, we are here to talk about the one and only Manchester United. So before we get into the transfers, which is what today is going to be mainly focused on, what do you think about our start to the season so far?
Well, the Arsenal game was. So the Arsenal game was really good. It was very similar to what we had seen last season, right? Better against the bigger sides. Now, I think that kind of comes twofold. I think first of all, it comes down to possibly our players and their temperament and their approach to bigger games compared to smaller games and how sort of up for it they can get. And I also think the other side of it, which is that I suspect going forward, what we're going to realize quite often is that this system that Ruben Amorim wants to play simply suits going up against the bigger sides better than it does the smaller sides. The bigger sides who want a bit more possession, you're going to do a bit better against them. I was quite positive going into the season. Despite everything that happened last season, I was optimistic. The first game happens, I'm like, okay, the result doesn't go away, fine, but the performance was good. Let's see what happens at Fulham. Fulham, we need to win. And at Craven Cottage, we always win. So I thought, right, we're fine. Ladies and gents, I had a post ready for Instagram where I stood outside Craven Cottage, giving it giving it so much. I think you're on. I think you're on
Yeah,
mute.
sorry, I saw your post. That was
Yeah,
pain when I saw you doing that.
yeah, big pain. So I did expect to win. And the performance was just so flat.
Yeah,
It felt so stale. It just felt back to not being able to create chances. And I think the issues go a little bit further than just the midfield. Um, I won't go too much into it because we want to obviously talk about
yeah,
the transfers, but
yeah,
yeah, a little bit of concern if I'm being completely honest with you. And it's also a case of we can beat Grimsby and we can beat Burnley, but that niggling feeling at the back of my mind based on that Fulham performance is still going to be there because it's Grimsby, because it's
yeah,
Burnley. So we've
yeah.
got to get through the international break and see where we find ourselves on the other side.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it, really? Because I when I was at the Arsenal game, I was feeling good, like vibes were good, and I feel like people are feeling better after losing to Arsenal than we did getting a draw against Fulham, which is it says a lot because I think for me, I said this in the video, and I'm still pretty vexed about the game to be honest, but I thought you have a week to relax, you have a week to prepare for a game, and that's what you gave us. I thought it was pathetic. I thought from all way around, I thought Ruben got it wrong. I thought his personnel choice was wrong, which we'll get to a certain personnel later in the video. Probably the person that we are most likely to be talking about. But yeah, I wasn't happy with it, and I'd say you bottle up the first 15 minutes, great. Like, let's give me that first 15 all game long, but they didn't do that, which is a damn shame. But ultimately, yeah, we find ourselves in a position where we're one place lower than what we were at the end of last season. We're currently in 16th. It doesn't mean anything at this stage of the season, really, but that's 5 drop points already in our bid to try and get some sort of European place. And, you know, when you see, like, I don't really care about Liverpool scoring in the last minute or like Arsenal's like pummeling leads. I'm scared of the fact that they're scoring goals and we're not, and we have invested more in our attack than anywhere else. But one area of the pitch that we are looking to get rid of players is also in our attack. So at the time of making this, it's the 26th of August, in case you watch this after the fact, but we really, well, technically, we haven't sold anybody. We've let some players go on loan. We've let Rashford go on loan. On that, I mean, how do you feel about Rashford leaving? Was that the right choice for you?
I think it just makes sense. I think that the Rashford one, honestly, we could spend a whole live talking about the Rashford
Yeah.
situation because it's so complex, and it's so multifaceted because it's not just about Ruben Amorim, but it's also about Ineos coming in and seeing a player who's on north of 200, I think 300k a week.
Yeah, 300k
So,
a week.
yeah, somewhere around there, and just thinking, well, hold on, we're sacking dinner ladies and such. So if we're making cost cutting measures in that sense, then a player who's on this much amount of money and is not necessarily proving that he deserves that much a week, then he needs to go. So I think that was also part Ineos, part Amorim. But good luck to him. Good luck to him. Listen, from the age of about 16, he was my favorite player at United. You know, he was sort of, the academy player coming through, burst onto the scene against Midtjylland, Arsenal. I had a lot of love for him. And I think he's got a complicated character. And I think that hasn't always helped him. But listen, I think it was the right call. I don't think we could sell him this summer. Hopefully, we can sell him next summer, and hopefully, he smashes it at Barcelona, and we can get a bit of a fee for him next summer.
Yeah, and I think he will. I think he will smash it at Barcelona. And whether they decide to take him up on it, I don't know, because of how they register players and how much money they've actually got to spend on players. It's very sticky over there. So I just think he's going to have a good loan season, and fair play to the guy. I think he's given enough to Man United over the first 5 or 6 years of his career. The last 2 or 3, I'm looking at him a bit differently. But let's just see where his career goes. But we are talking now about 3 players who, a few of them, the jury is still out. A few of them, people are have their minds pretty made up. And by the way, guys, if you're on TikTok, I'm here talking to the brilliant Nick. So if you want to come over and see his lovely face as well as mine, and actually hear from the person that you can hear the voice of, actually put a face to the name, then make sure you click the link in the bio, come over, subscribe, and join the live show here, because all of the chats that are here is easily read out. And if you are in the YouTube chat and you want to make sure that whatever you say gets featured on the channel, drop a super chat. But ultimately, get your comments in. We will be reading through them, and we will highlight a few that we love anyway, starting with the brilliant Simajaya Red Devil. It says, hello, Dev, back after a short vacation in New York with my lovely wife. What a legend. Went to visit the biggest Hindu temple in the US. How do you feel after 2 results? Well, we've kind of answered that question. I hope you had a lovely show. Lovely time, sorry, in the in New York. I think your time was probably better than our time watching the games. But thank you very much to Simajaya, Red Devil. And we can see already Luke, I'm a plant, one of the mods in the chat. Let me know if you want to be a mod as well. But Luke is in here saying, new kind of show. Let's go. Indeed. I told you we're going to be doing some new things, and I wasn't lying to you. Now, we have to get this man first. I probably should have picked a more flattering picture of him because this doesn't really seem fair. But Antony. So Antony right now is probably the one that is dividing the fewest people in the fan base. I think all people that have watched him and everyone that have made their opinions on him quite clear. Ultimately, when it comes to him, I don't feel bad for him at all, but I feel like he's been thrown under the bus a little bit in terms of the fee that he was brought for. Because if you've watched what David Ornstein said or Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic, they confirmed that the old regime, this is pre-Ineos era, they said that we were quoted, 25 million that we could have signed him for early in the window. We dragged our heels, we waited, we tried to get De Jong over the line, it never ended up happening, and we ended up paying exactly what Ajax wanted at the end because they couldn't get a replacement of north of 80 million. So in terms of the fee, this in my head, I know we've paid that much money for him, but I'm trying to view him as a 25 million pound player. And have we got the return of a 25 million pound player? Maybe. He's given us a couple of moments. He's done a few things here and there. And ultimately, we are now talking about a move to Real Betis, where after last season, he was brilliant for Betis last season. I thought he was very, very strong for them. And I thought he was outperforming that team in terms of XG, in terms of his individual performances. But the question remains, I mean, do you see, this is a question to you, Nick, and everyone in the comments, please do get it in the chat, what you think in TikTok, let me know, come over to YouTube as well so I can see everything more clearly. But do you think that this guy has a future at Manchester United anymore?
No, I think, you know what, funnily enough, out of the bomb squad, whatever you want to call it, out of the players who you'd want to get rid of, he's actually probably the one where you go, it wouldn't be a complete disaster if he doesn't go, simply because his wages aren't that high. Yeah. And actually, could you possibly see him playing a role at right wing back? Maybe, who knows? But listen, ideally, no. Ideally, he doesn't stay. I just don't think he's suited to the Premier League. I think we saw that pretty much from the get-go. In terms of his pace isn't there, his physicality is not there. Everything with Antony is far too slow and too predictable. And the Premier League, which is the most intense league in the world, is simply not going to work. I think even you've just said it there, and it still blows my mind, right? He was a 25 million pound or thereabouts player at the beginning of the window, simply because you left it too long and you panicked because you lost the first two games of the window. You go and spend 85.
Badly as well. We lost them. We lost them games bad.
We did. Yeah. Brentford and Brighton. I mean, the Brighton one didn't seem so bad, 2-1, but they played really well compared to us.
Brentford was like 4-0
first half. Yeah, but it was 4-0 in the first half. I think it was like they scored 4 in 35 minutes. So panic sets in and you go buy Antony for 85 million pounds. It still boggles the mind as to how senior people who are paid very, very good salaries can sort of come to that and decide that, yes, Antony for 85 makes sense. Either way, it happens, right? So at this point, no. Antony simply, like I said, doesn't suit the Premier League. He does suit La Liga quite well. I actually thought that Atletico Madrid could have been a good destination for him if they were in for him. That could have been very good for him. I could see that working. He's already proved he can do it in La Liga. And Diego Simeone's system is, like, as we know, very defensive. And Antony's, in that sense, a dog. Like, he can really work. You run himself down the ground. So I could see that working. But Betis, I think it makes sense. I think I'm hearing that it will be a loan with an obligation to buy. Now, I hope that obligation isn't a Chelsea kind of obligation, and it's a genuine,
to pay your way out of it.
Yeah, literally, and it's a genuine obligation that we get some money. I don't know if the figures are actually
no, they're not announced yet.
No, so we don't actually know how much for. I presume it would be something in around 20 million pounds. Possibly, maybe a little bit under that, considering they're covering a salary for one more season, which helps us. But ultimately, the answer to your question, I would say, is no. I do not see a future for Antony at Man United.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I wanted to. I think in the early stages, I mean, I saw the right wing back thing, and I thought that's perfect for him, because I think people are getting really mixed up in terms of who is supposed to be defending in this system. Like, the wing backs aren't really supposed to be giving too much of a defensive outlook to the team. They're supposed to be midfielders, and the three at the back are supposed to be the three centre-backs, and they're supposed to cover for each other. And if anything, one of the midfielders in the four that become the wing-backs in the two is supposed to drop deeper to make it a four, because I think you can't see it much better than what you saw in the Arsenal game, where actually I thought we were brilliant. I genuinely thought in the whole game, I thought we were very good against Arsenal. And the opening, like, let's say 20 minutes of the Fulham game, I thought we were spectacular. How we were playing, the interplay, and also just clearly you could see what everybody's roles were. And I'm not sure what Antony's role fits in anymore, because will he be better than Ahmad in that position? No. Would he be better than Mbeumo? Definitely not. Would he be better than Dalot? Dalot's poor, don't get me wrong. I still think he's ahead of Antony, and that says a lot. So it is a shame, because I think from what you saw at Ajax, he's a flashy player, and you always loved Brazilian bit of flair, Jogo Bonito at Manchester United, but we didn't see it. Like, every single bit of his skill was unnecessary. As far as I could see, his skill was not really utilized in the best possible way, and he annoyed me. And well, man like Katz is already talking about why is there a shortage on super chats today, mate? You don't have to do super chats. Obviously, if you want to give some to the cause, that is up to you. But Luke says we should split a Fredo, because clearly he's seeing that we are here like upset about a man like Antony when we should be moving on to bigger and better things. But I want to get your opinion on one thing, is that Soham, there's no need for that, but I agree. I want to get your opinion on one thing, is like Betis, more than anything, have really pissed me off with him, because like they've had all summer not to make a case to the board, but to say, this is the guy that we want from last season. Same manager, same board, same everyone have seen what this guy can actually do in your team. He's going to do it again. I have no doubt that he will probably replicate those numbers consistently in La Liga, because last season was the most tumultuous season that he could have had personally, and he still put in numbers in La Liga for Real Betis and in Europe when they were playing. So I have no doubt that he'll be good for them. But how can they really, Real Betis, I mean, like, drag their feet to this point, where I think what they're trying to do is take United for a bit of a ride and say, we're weak negotiators. We're gonna agree to a loan without an obligation. I think if we get an obligation, like I say, that's not a Chelsea one, either way you're getting money out of the deal, and you're also getting money off the books, which now that this will be included in the current financial year, it means that January we could probably do some business there, but it does free up space to do business now, because the man's on 200k a week, if the reports are to be believed, which is a ridiculous amount of money, somewhere between 120 and 200, including bonuses, which somehow he's gotten because of his appearances. I don't really get how that works, but you get him out the club, immediately you free up that amount in wages, which over the course of the season, you're saving about 10 million quid just in wages with him, or 6 million quid, in wages. And then you include an obligation with a good amount of money, then why not? And I think Luke is right in what he says here, that Betis are a joke. Clubs selling players and still telling Antony to wait for them to force a loan from us. I'd rather we refuse to let him go to them. Same with Chelsea with Garnacho. I do agree the end point that we are being mocked by these clubs at this point. I understand why clubs feel like they can, but I've been quite happy with Ineos's business so far in terms of from a pure business point of view. They've spent a little bit more on the likes of Mbeumo and Sesko, but we need money. I don't care who takes him. We need good amount of money now to get out of Antony. And Rafael says that Betis are trying to be smart and get him at the end to squeeze from United, but Wilcox allegedly said no, club will bully us in transfers, and I hope he stands by his word. I personally think he will. But yeah, Betis has really left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. And you kind of touched on it at the end, but what would be your minimum that you would accept for Antony? Like, if a bid comes in deadline day, this figure, what would you accept?
For a loan or a permanent transfer? For a loan and obligation. Permanent, the lowest. It's so hard, because we don't have a leg to stand on in many senses, and this is how it goes back to why Betis are kind of taking the mick a little bit and sort of stretching this out as long as they can. Same thing's going to happen with Garnacho. We've kind of put ourselves in this position by basically not putting them on the shop window, basically not giving them a preseason. They're not playing games, because keep in mind, whoever buys Antony now, they're gonna have to get him to full fitness before they can even think about playing him. To answer your question, I don't know. I want 20 million. But I just
you'd take 20 million back.
What is for permanent transfer in this window?
Right now, yeah.
Right now, if they gave me 20 million, I would take it because I just
Yeah.
think no one else wants him. That's the issue. No one else who could afford him, who needs him, no
Yeah.
one else wants him, and that's the gonna be the running theme. We're gonna get to Sancho. I'm sure we can probably say similar stuff about Sancho. So
Yeah.
I would take, 20 million now, and if
Yeah.
they took him for, I guess, a loan for a season, and at the end of it, maybe sort of 18 million ish, considering
Yeah.
they've got him off our books and stuff for a year, I would take something like that. It's
Yeah,
not
I
ideal.
think it's not ideal at all. This whole situation is not ideal. We want to wash our hands of him, but I think anywhere between 25 and above, I think you have to be quite happy with. If it's anything with a 3 in front of it with an overall package, you snap anyone's hand off, really. But
100%.
yeah, I've got to say, man, like Cats are being a bit unfair here, saying if Antony performs really well after leaving United, he's not that type of player. I regret letting him go. Okay, I agree with that because he's shown at United he can't do it. Just because you can do it somewhere else doesn't mean you can do it here. That I agree with. But Di Maria 2.0, absolutely not. Let's be very clear, okay? Di Maria is a very different kettle of fish. He doesn't like us. He was treated badly, and I'll admit that. But he then treated us badly. But also his house was broken into. His wife said certain things, and it's one of the best players of his generation we're talking about, unfortunately, in Angel Di Maria, who didn't
I
work
don't
out
think
for us because,
I don't think he gets the ratings he deserves for how
no,
good of a player he actually is and was. I mean,
unbelievable player.
that
Yeah,
Real Madrid team that he was a part of, he was such a
yeah,
key cog of that. Same with Ozil, kind of those two. But
100%.
and also Messi winning the World Cup. I'm sorry, go back and watch those games. Look at how
I know.
pivotal Di Maria was in those games. He was huge.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And I
unfortunate.
don't feel bad for him, but I'm a little bit when people talk about him, it's like he did some of the worst things ever. And don't get me wrong, I'm not happy with how he behaved. I'm not happy with the things that, like I said, his wife has said, or like all these types of things. But if I'm him, and this was the scenario, just because I don't know how Di Maria came into this, but we've been asked the question. But I think what people need to remember is that this guy came in as one of the best attacking midfielders in the world. This was our Ozil moment, in my opinion, at the time. And he came in and he never played attacking midfield. He either had to play shadow striker or on the left, where he's a left-footed player and he couldn't be effective. And still, he was good. His numbers are better than most of the players that we've signed in the Ten Hag era, at least, which is, kind of the reason we're hamstrung at this point. So, yeah.
And also, last thing I'll say on that as well is it also speaks on what the culture was like from the higher ups, from the seniors above. Because let's have it right, he's not the only one who's come to United and complained. Sanchez had some things to say. Even Zlatan, who I would say is a fairly unproblematic kind of player. Even he had some negative things to say. So
Yeah.
he's not the first. It's unfortunate. Yeah, Di Maria shouldn't have sort of gone about it the way he did. But
No.
yeah.
Absolutely. But I think Di Maria is just one of those kind of players we have to move on from. And I think Antony, in the same vein, we have to move on from him. But if he leaves, he doesn't leave with a massive amount of disrespect from me. I just don't think he was suited to the league. I still think he gave it everything he had. And I don't think he really ever disrespected us. I think when he spoke about us, when he was at Betis, I thought he spoke about us very, very well. It doesn't mean that I think he is, the be all and end all and that we should keep him. Far from it. He's just not suited to Manchester United. And go back in the annals of history, some great players have not been suited to Man United and have left well and have gone on to do other things. I think that Antony won't join the list of great players, but he'll join the list of good players because he is a decent lad. Well, I hope he's a decent lad because he's been accused of some things, which he has been cleared of, but yeah, a bit sticky with that one. But Antony is up. And I guess this next one, I know for a fact that there are people in the chat. And if you're on TikTok, come over to YouTube now, link in the bio, because every single person that I've spoken to has a different opinion on him. I actually weirdly haven't asked you your opinion on him until we've gotten on here. So I'm interested to see what you think, but I found a lovely picture of him where he's looking nice and butch. But there is a certain striker named Rasmus Hojlund, who everyone has been thinking about. It's been on everybody's lips since the beginning of the season, who has officially been ostracized from the team. This is a man that will not feature for Ruben Amorim no matter what happens. And that surprises me a little bit to start the season and pre-season with Mount up top and Cunha up top rather than your striker is mad to me, especially when this is a guy who isn't part of the bomb squad, who hasn't brought the game into disrepute, who hasn't brought the club into bad press. But Rasmus Hojlund looks like he's going to be out of Manchester United. And as of today, alone with an obligation to buy, a very easy obligation to buy, which will be triggered by appearances and Champions League qualifications, which you'll assume Napoli, who just bought Kevin De Bruyne, still got Scott McTominay doing his bits, will do well in. So Rasmus, a lot of people want to keep him. There's a lot of people, almost the same amount of people, who think that he's useless and want him to go. Nick, where do you stand on it?
With Rasmus, I actually feel for him. I actually do feel for him. I think in that first season, you saw glimpses of why we had brought him in. And I think that his strengths lie in quick football, direct football, transitional football. And that's why we saw moments of brilliance from him in that first Ten Hag season. I was actually at the Galatasaray game when he scored. You know, when he ran from basically the halfway line, dinks the keeper, and then the header from the Rashford cross. And I thought, wow, like we've got a proper player here.
That's a striker,
yeah. The problem is when Ruben Amorim then comes in, everything slows right the way down, and then the striker role ends up becoming this link-up player back up against, and he did it under Erik ten Hag as well, but more so under Ruben Amorim, back against the defender, try and make the ball stick, bring other players into it, etc., etc. That just wasn't his game. It just wasn't what he was about at all. Now, and on top of that, he basically had no service. Let's have it right. Like
none.
You could have had many strikers come into our team that we just weren't creating chances for our strikers, no matter who they were. So Rasmus Hojlund, it's a weird one, right? Because if Sesko gets injured, you're stuck with nothing, right? So I do think that this decision is financially driven more than anything. I think we need to bring money in and get some wages off our books, although he's not on a lot of wages. In an ideal world, I would keep him. And I actually think that in some ways, Hojlund could be more useful to us than, say, a Xerxes. Because although I think Xerxes is the better technical player, I think that left-sided 10 is pretty nailed to Cunha. And that's where Xerxes is probably going to play. Whereas with Hojlund, you've got a Sesko who is a promising striker, just like Hojlund, but again, not proven. So if Sesko goes through a bad patch and isn't scoring, then you could bring Hojlund into it. But obviously, you're not going to have Hojlund. So you're going to have to throw Cunha there or Mboma there, and it's not their ideal positions. So my stance is that I would like to keep Hojlund and give Sesko some actual genuine competition. And even in games where Hojlund starts, Sesko come on, Sesko starts, Hojlund come on, that's fine. But I do think it's financially driven, and I think that's why this deal with Napoli will go through. And I think it's pretty fair to say I can see him doing well in Napoli. You know, he's got Kevin De Bruyne behind him. He's link up again with Scott McTominay, although Scott McTominay towards the end of that last season was taking a lot of goals off of Hojlund.
He was,
but I can see him doing well there. And so if he does go, best luck to him. He's a diehard United fan, and I always love that about him. I always think we should have players who want to be at the club, want to wear the shirt. Over the years, we've often lacked that, so I love that side of him. But I do think it's a shame. I do think it's a shame, and I see potential in his future 100%.
Yeah, I to be honest, I've flip-flopped on him more than anybody else because, I know it's my bias. It's just because I like the guy. I genuinely just think he's a good lad who he wants the best for the club and he wants to be the guy to do it. But bless him, he has not been good enough to show that. So I'm never going to be able to sit here and say to people who want him gone, you're an idiot for wanting him gone. And the same to people who want him to stay, because I think there are possibilities for both. And I can see the sense in both of those things. But it's for me, it's the option. I don't understand why in a team that is pretty light in terms of what we need in terms of quality and with options, why you would let an attacking option go. Because financially, unless the money is coming in now or unless it's guaranteed to come in at a very high rate, I don't want it. I don't want a loan. I hate this loan with an obligation to buy. I hate it. With him, I don't like it because last season he had a stinker. We all know he had a stinker and he did. But a lot of players had one last season. It's not as if he was the only one. But also, I can feel a lot more confident in a game where if he starts, and then Seshko comes on, because you know he's at least going to run a team ragged for a little bit, let someone fresher come on and do something better. And the same vice versa. I think that someone can absolutely take his, or like he can come on for someone else, study the game a little bit and run the channels, which when he does run the channels, he's a good striker, but he just hasn't. It's a weird one because we haven't played to his strengths, in my opinion, and I don't understand why. Because when Ruben Amorim came in, I saw Gyökeres doing what he was doing, and I did what everyone else did. I thought, tall Scandinavian, big striker. He's going to love him. He's going to run in behind. He's got Bruno Fernandes there instead of Hojlund and these man. Like, he's going to be lapping up the goals, and it never happened. I never saw him once run the channel. And if anything, I saw him with his back to goal, which he cannot do. Atalanta, he couldn't do it. And I'm sorry, not a lot of big strikers can do that very effectively. Because when you are talking about a big striker who's 6 foot plus and is strong and can run the channels and can hold up the ball, you're talking Alexander Isak territory. You're talking Diego Costa, Didier Drogba. You're talking about those types of big power forwards. But I would settle for a Roque Santa Cruz. Just run in behind and do what you got to do. I'd settle for all of that. But it's just he's not been able to get the platform to do it. And like I said, I have flip-flopped on it, and it will depend all on the deal. If Napoli come in and say, we'll take him off your hands now for like 40 million quid, like that's it, 40 million pounds, cool, take him. Or loan with an obligation up towards 40 million, sure. But I want to see that money being reinvested pretty much straight away. Maybe not in a striker, but definitely in a midfielder, because I think we're going to be light. And I think the big question comes in with Rasmus Hojlund. Like I said it with Antony, do you think that we would regret letting him go?
Oh, jeez. Regret. That's so hard to answer. The thing is, right? So obviously, it's quite often that we see a player not succeed at United, go somewhere else, do well, and everyone's like, "See, it's United. That's the problem. It's United. That's the problem." But for me, that's kind of twofold, because it's like, well, you didn't succeed at United, so you didn't succeed at United. There's different expectations, there are different pressures. You're in a different league. There's very few players that don't do well at United, go to another Premier League club and do well.
Yeah.
It's a different kettle of fish when you're talking about the
Very
Serie
few.
A, you're talking La Liga. It's very different. The other thing I will say on Hojlund as well, and I can sort of, it's a weird comparison, but I'm going to make the comparison anyway. Patrick Dorgu, right? He looked brilliant against Arsenal. Why did he look brilliant against Arsenal? Was because we played the ball in front of him and said, run. You just go. There's space, run there and sort of cause havoc. You're athletic, you're quick, cause trouble. Against Fulham, it was a lot of drop in and get the ball off the centre back and see what you can do. Dorgu isn't play to feet and turn and play. He's not that player. He is a running behind and sort of the ball in front of you kind of player. Rasmus Hojlund, same thing. So we never saw the best of him in that sense. Will we regret it? If Seshko does well, then no. But if we aren't playing well, if we're not scoring goals, and Rasmus Hojlund is putting up numbers in the Serie A, naturally there's going to be fans going, oh, X, Y, and Z, and etc. etc. There is a little part of me that is sad to see him go. So it's not regret, but a little bit of sadness. Yeah, because I do think he will go on to become a good striker. Yeah. Will he become the quality of striker that Man United need if in 2028 they want to win the Premier League? I don't quite think so. But could he have been a good player to have in the squad? I think he would have contributed something to the right system for him, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but Luke mentions it here. As soon as you mention anyone leaving the football club, you immediately go to Scott McTominay. Like, and personally, Luke says we don't regret McTominay. People need to stop glazing players doing well in different leagues. Prem is harder, and teams are set up differently to United. Players thrive in different situations. I completely agree. But also on the Scott McTominay situation, I'm sorry, he was never going to be able to break through. He was never going to be able to have the type of impact that he had on what he's having on Napoli, because just watch a game, just watch one full game of Napoli in the Serie A against a Sassuolo, against a Lecce, against anyone. The amount of time you get on the ball because of how deep they sit and how Napoli like to play with their wing backs and throwing balls in. A lot of his goals come from chaos. Very rarely do they come from culture. And it's like you have to, in the Premier League, have a mix of both of those things. So Scott McTominay, for me, I used a lot of expletives in my younger years, which I regret. But I do remember saying that I thought he wasn't capable of doing what United needed. He did not faced with his back towards goal, take the ball and drive it forward. He never did. He played like Ugarte played. Unfortunately, he didn't do enough. Occasionally, he would get in and get the occasional goal, and he looked a lot better. I would say that he did look a lot better moving forward. But the price we got him for looks like a steal now to Napoli. At the time, it was a very fair fee because he wasn't doing well at Manchester United. And ultimately, hindsight's 2020. But would I do it again, knowing what's happened now? Probably, yeah, because he had 6 or 7 years to do it at United, and he never did. And that's I think is the point that people are making in the chat. And I'm not overall worried about how Hojlund going to another club is going to make us look. The thing I'm most worried about is that it just leaves us without an option, because someone said it earlier, if Sesko gets injured, you're done. Like that, you're not going to be able to have a power forward in there. And that's what Ruben Amorim wants. I think Xerxes is a good player, but how has he not featured in any of these games yet? He's fully fit. We know he is. He hasn't featured in any of these games. And there's a few other players that we'll get to. Well, one at the end that we'll get to hasn't featured at all. And I think that Ruben Amorim has certain players that he wants to play alongside others. And it's kind of up to the other ones to make it work. I don't agree with it. And I'm sure we'll get on to the manager because I have very strong opinions on how he started. I'm sure you do as well. But the player that I think we're both going to agree. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say we're both going to agree on this player because he has, or the entire situation really has pissed me off no end, like in terms of how it's been treated by the player, by the clubs involved. And it is Alejandro Garnacho. There's definitely, I'll take the floor on this one to begin with. I'm angry at him. And the reason I say that is because I keep going back to Bilbao. I'll always go back to Bilbao. It's still with me. I was there at the game, but I remember what he said the minute that we lost that game. And my thoughts didn't even go to the game. My thoughts didn't even go to where we were going to be. My thoughts went to every single fan who slept on the streets, who slept on picnic tables, who slept in bathrooms to go and watch that game. And what did you do? You took that opportunity to take the mick out of them. And I hate it. I absolutely hate what they did, what he said. I hate the way that he talks about us regularly. And I also think that this kid is smarter than what people are giving him credit for. Like, a lot of people are trying to do this thing where he's young, he's making mistakes, they're comparing him to players who we should never be compared to. But for me, I think he's making these mistakes in quite a calculated fashion. He knows exactly what he was doing when he said what he said. He knew exactly what was going to happen because he's been at the club long enough in our worst era. So he knows exactly what was going to happen. He also knew exactly what he was going to do with the Rashford stuff. And I've just seen him flaunting around with another girl when his old fiance is pregnant with his. And it's like, I still, that's going on to the personal stuff, and we don't need to make it personal, but it says a lot about the man. And there's a reason why Ryan Giggs can't get a role on Sky Sports to save his life, because of what he did. And you have to be clear. When these kids are feeling untouchable, it feels like they can do and say whatever they want. And we're at a point where if we balk at this kid after everything that's been said and done, we will look awful. If he ever turns out for Manchester United again, I think it destroys the manager and probably destroys the hierarchy for a good amount of time, because we will be pushovers. Ruben Amorim has drawn a line in the sand with him. First of all, do you agree with how he's drawn a line in it? I think people are a bit upset, thinking maybe he should have kept it a bit closer to home. Maybe he shouldn't have let too much get publicized. Where do you stand on that? Are you upset with it, or do you think that's what he deserved?
So, all right, when I was watching that Europa League final, I wanted Garnacho to start because I saw an Ange Postecoglou Tottenham side who leave a lot of space in behind, and I thought we've got no one to run in behind. Garnacho gives us a bit of pace. He didn't start him. I said, okay, fine. He didn't come on in the 50th, in the 60th. He finally comes on in about the 70s something, or like early 70s comes on. And I thought, that's a bit too late. You've left it a bit too late there. Now, the manager, the buck stops with the manager. He is the manager for a reason. He gets interviewed for a reason. He gets questioned for a reason. It's his decisions. You are a 20-year-old player who's been in the senior team for about 2 years. The way he came out after the game and said the things that he said in the interview, you would think he's a senior player who's 30 years old and has been starting for us for the last 10 years. You don't have that kind of authority. You don't have that kind of status yet. You're not there. And it goes back to what you said earlier, feeling like you're untouchable, unbreakable at this club, and your ego being far bigger than it should be, right?
Yeah.
So when Amorim does what he does later, and he basically gets rid of him from the squad, I understand all that. The side of it, which I think was a little bit poorly handled, was maybe you don't let it get out as much. But also, it comes out and we don't know where that's come from. The information about Ruben Amorim saying you're lucky if another club comes in for you, or he said something of the like.
But who reported that? Like, how could only the people in the dressing room that were there to hear it that day will have known that came out? So someone said it. Ruben didn't come out in the press and say it. So I think we all just jumped on that and assumed it was true. What if it wasn't true? We genuinely have no idea.
Yeah, and even, I mean, the thing is as well, it could have come from a Garnacho camp. You know, like it could have very well come from a Garnacho camp. So, do I think it was poorly handled by Amorim? I think it was harsh, in terms of not harsh in terms of what the treatment of Garnacho, but harsh in terms of how it looks in the public and how that then makes it more difficult for us to sell the player. But do I think it was fair treatment of a player who acted out of line? Absolutely. And what you said earlier about the postseason tour, right? Like swearing at fans and such. Listen, I don't doubt that there was fans in that crowd who acted out of line, who said things they shouldn't have said, or who may have swore at him. I don't doubt that. That's very likely. But you are a Manchester United football player. That means something. You wear the badge. You act with respect. You just don't. Imagine if a player in Fergie's era had done that. Oh my God. So fans,
the first indiscretion, he'd be gone. Like, and this is the thing that I keep saying. It's not his first time at the rodeo with this kid, is it? It's not like, he's done one thing and it's a mistake. No, I think once you do that, a similar vein of mistake 4, 5, 6 times, that becomes just a pattern of behavior. That becomes who you are. And it doesn't mean that, look, other clubs might be able to put up with it, but at Manchester United, you're not able to put up with it. And you make a good point with the Europa League final. And I think last season, frankly, I think he got enough minutes to show us something, and he didn't show us enough in the time that he was given. But in that game, I think he had probably a bit more of an onus to say, I deserve to play a bit more of that game. I understand that. But I did what every Man United fan probably hasn't done and rewatched the part where he came on and rewatched the last 20 minutes of the game. I've put this out in a video, which is going live maybe tomorrow, the next day. But I say the whole game, the level was like there. It was a terrible game of football. Garnacho comes on and he was there. People are acting like he was so above it and beyond everybody else. If he plays the way he came on and played that game in any other game where the intensity was a little bit higher, he would be just as anonymous as everybody else. And I also thought that with Ahmad starting the game, which I disagree with, I didn't think he should start the game. And I agree with you. I thought, flip it around. But I would probably hedge my bets, and we're getting into semantics, but I'd hedge my bets and say, if Ahmad was coming on, he'd probably give me a bit more cause to be excited than when Garnacho came on. And all Garnacho did was fabricate one chance and one shot that dribbled wide. He did absolutely nothing else. And if that's a reason to keep you on for longer, when throughout the whole course of the season, you've played on average about 50 to 60% of the game time that you could have been given when you were fit, brother, you got to look at yourself. You got to look at yourself, and maybe I'm the problem here.
Yeah, I think on that, my only thing with wanting to see Garnacho start was that because at the start of the game was open, right? So both teams needed to score. So naturally, Tottenham were playing a little bit more. I mean, you watched the game more recently. I might be wrong, but I do think there was spaces there in behind to be exploited.
Yeah, there were.
Once Tottenham went 1-0 up, and in the second half, they didn't basically leave their own box. You know,
no,
so there was
they brought Dragic on, and that was it.
Yeah. So obviously, hindsight is 2020, right? It's happened now. But in that instance, if you'd say started a Garnacho and brought Mason Mount on once there was a deeper block there, that's where, he may have had, or Garnacho may have had more of an impact from the start. But listen, it's kind of besides the point, right?
Yeah,
we brought this guy in, Ruben Amorim. Yeah. And Garnacho simply doesn't suit the way Ruben Amorim wants to play. You see it now. Cunha drops in, Dorgu gives the width. That wasn't happening last season. Garnacho wanted to keep the width, wanted to stay high, and Dorgu was also right there next to him, both occupying the same space. No one occupying that central sort of channel that you see Cunha in now. So for stylistically, it makes sense to get rid of him, but also all the off-pitch stuff that we've just discussed. You can't do that as a Man United player, and especially now that we go into an era where we want a culture shift, we want things to be handled differently at the club. This kind of player and the way he's behaved doesn't really sit right, and so I do think getting rid of him is the right call. But the way Chelsea are moving is completely out of order. And 25 million, brother. Elanga went for 50. Gibbs White was up for 50 something. Kudos, same price. Madueke, same price. And
Jamie
Garnacho's
Bino
numbers, I
Gittins
think, are better
for
than those.
55. But Jamie Bino Gittins, 55 million when he hasn't scored since October. So it's absolutely mad. But I'll say one thing about this comment that Keane, the captain, was let go because he went public. Absolutely right. Ruud van Nistelrooy was let go because he went public. David Beckham because he was dating a Spice Girl and moved away from football. Jaap Stam wrote about something in a book. He had to go. Garnacho could not lace the boots of any of the players that I've just mentioned. And it's not about eras, just players. Any of those players, he's not even a quarter of the player of any of them. And there are a few players who I would say would be welcome in the dressing room back then. He ain't one of them. He would have been kicked into shape pretty quickly. And I also want to give, because I want it to be fair, I want it to be as balanced as possible with Garnacho. I don't think he was given a platform really to succeed. I don't think the foundation of the club were there to have a young, precocious talent succeed. And especially when you are a bit hot-headed. Like, it's going to be difficult to do that. And a young Cristiano coming in here, he'd struggle probably more than he did. But the big difference I have to tell people, which is stupid, the difference between Garnacho and Cristiano is the mentality. And Garnacho is talent. He has some talent. It is there. He could probably build on it and become a very, very good player. But the mentality is there thinking, I'm here, the rest are there, and I deserve more than what I'm worth. And he hasn't proven any of that to anybody. So I'm not impressed with him. I think it's time for him to go. And I think once he does, it will be a bit of a sigh of relief. But like you say, Chelsea are moving mad. But at the same time, bro, I'm not going to lie. If we were Chelsea, would we not do the exact same thing?
Absolutely.
Like,
and this is where I go back to.
I'd be lowballing you daily.
And this is where I go back to. Same thing with Antony. Same thing with Sancho. Like, we've kind of, and it hasn't all been sort of under United's control. Some of it was in like things that we can't control. But we have put ourselves in a difficult position because we've made these players look unattractive first, and we've made us as a club wanting to get rid of them look desperate to try and do that. So if I'm Chelsea, I'm not coming any sooner or any higher bid than I need to, especially a club like Chelsea. They're so like, and to be fair, look, you can kind of say a lot about Chelsea, but actually, financially,
they're brilliant at selling.
They've done.
And
you know what? We laughed at them. Do you remember when 2-3 years ago we laughed at them? We laughed at them like they were a comedic club who had just spent like £1 billion and were sitting 12th in the Premier League, but the vision was there, right? They were always going to sell with the majority of those players, and it's worked out. So a club that's well run financially, they're not going to bid higher than they need to. So I get it.
Yeah, and why would you? I mean, I'd be in the exact same position, laughing my ass off if I was them as well. And that doesn't mean that Chelsea are run well or I want to be run like Chelsea, but I want to sell like Chelsea. That's for damn sure, because they know how to sell their talents. Weirdly, the one talent that I think they've sold this season was today. Carney Chukwuemeka's gone to Dortmund for 24 million. I think that's cheap, and I'll say this now. I would have taken Carney Chukwuemeka at Manchester United all day long. I think he's underrated. But Garnacho, like I say, the money that everyone has been talking about, Chelsea want to spend 25 million. That's never going to, I'm pretty certain that's never going to happen. We want 50. I'm also equally certain that that's not going to happen. So somewhere in the middle, I think if it has a 4 in front of it, in my opinion, I think you got to take it. If it's clean money and it comes in and he's ready to go, I think we have to get rid of him. And what would be the minimum you'd accept for him as well?
Yeah, something. It's so hard. It's so hard. The thing is, like, I'm reluctant to say anything below 50, but because of those other examples that I've just said, the kudoses and the like. But because I know the scenario we're in, anything with a 4, you probably would have to take it, especially just because it's ugly, isn't it? Like, everything that's been going on is ugly. So anything
and it's
with
only
a 4,
going to get worse.
agreed.
I think it's only going to get worse as well.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is if Ineos want to make a quote unquote example of a player and say, look, we're not going to be taking the mick out of, we have a valuation of a player, we're not going to bow down to what you want. They could, if they really wanted to, make an example out of Garnacho because his salary isn't that high.
Yep.
So
Yep.
keep him having under 21s, but also Garnacho must have a lot of incentive to want to go because it's World Cup year and he wants to be a part of that Argentina squad. So
Yeah, I can't lie. This might be the most evil thing that I'll ever say on this channel. And I'm a pillar for non-toxicity in the football community, and that is not what I'm advocating for now. I'm saying that he is acting in a certain way, and I think actions have consequences. But if we don't get the money that we want for him, I would happily banish him to the under 23s. I would happily make sure he doesn't play any senior football, because if my man wants to do this during a World Cup year, like you say, and I think he's on 50K a week. So it's no skin off our nose if he doesn't go for a certain amount of money. And he's got 3 years left on his deal, one and an extension in the deal. So he's got all of these things going against him now. We could keep him at the club rotting for as long as we want. And annoyingly, although we don't have much of a leg to stand on in terms of right now with the valuation, over the next 3 years, we're the only ones with a leg to stand on. We're the only ones who can say you're going to play or you're not. We decide your future for the next 3 years. And overall, no one can say that we're in breach of contract, because this boy's in breach of his contract. I'm surprised that no one calls out these players for talking the way they do, because they must be in breach of something. But personally, I would happily banish the kid, because I think he just needs to learn. And if this ends up being, it could even be a situation where he has all of that, these things happen, we banish him, and then he apologizes, he plays for like 3 games and we sell him. Cool. I'd happily take that as well. But we need, one thing I want is for the club, forget the manager for a second, the club to be the ones that are in the strongest position, because a new video is coming out on the channel as well. If you're on TikTok, click the link in bio, subscribe, join the live show now, because I've made a pretty impassioned video, what I would call it, about how modern footballers are taking their clubs for a ride. And I think these players are taking the piss. In my opinion, I think it's very disrespectful to us as fans. It's disrespectful to the team. But also, when you are an Alexander Isak, or you're a Johan Viss, or you're an Alejandro Garnacho, or a Jadon Sancho, which we'll have to touch on, when you're these players and you're constantly bad-mouthing your team and you're bad-mouthing the customers, the fans in this case, you would usually get booted out of a company, but you're still getting paid these astronomical wages to do absolutely nothing. So in my opinion, these players need to have a much greater regard for the people who are actually employing them. Because if we didn't show up all the time, if we didn't care about the club, if we didn't love the club, if we didn't want the best for them, they wouldn't be getting paid. I know that's a very, I don't know, a very romantic way of looking at things, but I'm upset. Like, this Garnacho thing has upset me, because you're supposed to be a kid that could be a poster boy for this generation of Man United. If it was up to him, he could be that. He still can. If he could turn it all around, he really, really can, but he just chooses not to. And I think maybe the situation is too far gone in order to do that. And it's all happening, let's be honest. And I want your opinion on this as well, because I hate players who are using the excuse of the system, or I hate fans who are using the excuse of the system, because I can think of maybe 2 players who are being played properly out of position and are actually struggling. Yesterday, Newcastle against Liverpool, I saw Dominic Szoboszlai play right back, and he didn't get done on his side either. It came down Alanga's side. He was actually all right. So he's there playing right back. A £70 million midfielder is playing right back when you've got Conor Bradley on the bench. He didn't moan. In fact, Liverpool went on and won it, and he got it wasn't an assist, but he did the layover to let it go to Ngumoa. He's not upset about that. And yet I'm supposed to believe that a Bruno Fernandes can't drop 10 yards deeper, literally centrally deeper. And I'm supposed to believe that Garnacho can't come 10 yards to the right just to make space for a wing back. I refuse to believe that we should be giving players this much grace over a system. Am I being unfair there, or how do you feel about that?
Oh, I don't know. It's tough. Because all right, so I love my wingers. They are my favorite players in the whole world.
Yep.
Like, since I was a kid, wingers. Even still now, I love watching wingers. We
Yeah.
don't really have. We have wing backs, and they're kind of they can act like wingers at times, but they've got to do things that wingers don't do. Because ultimately, right, like in this system, a lot of the build up does actually come from the wingers. We get the ball out to them a lot. You know that inside pass from Ahmad. That's a constant thing. So I do think I give him a little bit of slack, especially if you're a Rashford or if you're a Garnacho, where your job has always been in the academy and even now in the first team, stay down a touchline, get the ball 1v1, run at your man, cause chaos, make things happen. Because at first, I fully agreed with what you said. When everyone was saying Garnacho won't fit, Rashford won't fit, and I was going, hold on. All you're really being asked is to come inside a little bit
Yeah.
and actually maybe you can probably get more goals in that position. But seeing the way Cunha plays it now, that's what I go, okay,
Right.
I get it now, because Garnacho can't do what Cunha is doing. Now, could Garnacho do what Mbumo is doing right now? Yeah, because Mbumo isn't really, well, he does drop in sometimes. He drops in a few times against Arsenal, but he stays high and wide. But if need be, he still can do it. Rashford, I would even argue, could do it, because actually Rashford receiving the ball and turning and actually finding passes, I actually think
Rashford
his
would be
ball
best
playing,
at that. Yeah.
he's very good at it. I think it's actually quite underrated, and that's another reason why I think he'll do well at Barcelona, because he'll be fine in those scenarios. But for a player like Garnacho, I just think I think even if his attitude was right, and this is, I think we're going to come on to this with Kobe, even if his attitude is right and if he really wanted it, he would never thrive in this system. That's sort of my thing. He could make it work. There's probably games where you think, oh, Garnacho played really well today, but where is the ceiling of how good he can really become playing as a 10 compared to a left winger? That's kind of where I'm at. But I still agree that he could have done more than what he done. And he shouldn't have acted the way he did. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of like, I could see it now with Cunha, where I'm like, okay. Cunha gets it. Cunha's doing it well.
Yeah, you know what? That's a fair point, because I think I am just going to be stuck in the era for a long time about not just the old school era of Man United being successful, but I remember Carrick dropping into centre back, Fletcher drops centre back, Roy Keane has played 15 games at right back, and we kept a clean sheet in all of those games. It's like, I know I'm not comparing them to great players, Roy Keane, yeah, but Fletcher and O'Shea and Carrick and all these utility men, like, they did just put in a shift and they did what they had to do. And Ji-Sung Park, who was, no one can tell me what his best position was. Like, I'm missing those sorts of profiles, and I want those sorts of profiles back. But ultimately, I want the mentality back, and I want people who care about Manchester United, and I want people who can actually see themselves thriving in a Manchester United shirt. And right now, there aren't too many where you can say that they are thriving and that they are doing good things and that everything is working out for them. But there's a few, and I'm going to have to get onto it, unfortunately. There's a few where you can say that maybe they have been, I don't know if mistreated is the right word, or misprofiled or left out or whatever that might be. But there's a few players in this squad, I believe, who can actually say that they're taking the mick a little bit. They should be playing me and I deserve a little bit better. And it's this man here. And we know, I'll say this to everyone now. If you're on TikTok now, please come over to YouTube and subscribe. We're currently on 8,373. So if all of you come over, we can hit 8,400 like that. So please do click the link and subscribe. And we're going to do a big giveaway at 10K. Loads of content coming your way as well. But the thing with this whole stream, so when I messaged Nick to do this, the first thing we said about just anything that was kind of on topic was about Kobbie Mainoo. It was about what was going to happen and how we both feel about him. I have a feeling we both feel the exact same way, and this is going to be one where me and Nick go back and forth. So drop a super chat or get your chats in constantly so I can keep seeing it. Don't spam as always, but keep them coming so that we can see what you've got to think about it, because this is the most divisive one. If we're going to look at everything that's happened this summer, if we're going to look at everything that we've been trying to get through, take care, Luke. Appreciate you stopping by. But if we're going to talk about every single player that has been linked with a move away, I think Kobbie Mainoo is the one that unanimously Man United fans feel a certain way. But also, there's an added bit of fear that this might go the way that some of the reports are thinking of it. So if you haven't heard, it seems like they're coming from various different angles, but it's from the likes of Jamie Jackson, who's been wrong multiple times. It's from the likes of people who have been wrong a lot of the time, and it's got to be said. They were wrong about Qatar. They were wrong about like a few different things. But Kobbie Mainoo has, and this is unequivocal, he's been left out of both games in the Premier League so far under Ruben Amorim. 2 games where definitely the second one, he should have been brought on. The first one, you could probably say that he should be coming on as well. But now, there are certain reports that suggest maybe he himself is angry with the way things are going, and it might be time to look elsewhere. Now, Nick, this is our boy. We love Kobbie Mainoo, and I think every Man United fan does as well. What do you make of, I don't want to say treatment, because I don't think he's been mistreated, but what do you make of the current situation? Are there any explanatory factors, or are you kind of as miffed as everybody else?
That picture of Garnacho, Hojlund, and Kobbie sat on the
Yeah,
ad board gets sadder and sadder every day, doesn't it?
hurts, doesn't it?
Wow. I can't believe
Yeah.
we're on the street talking about all three of them potentially leaving.
That was my banner for like a good 3 months, and I had to get a new one.
So it's upsetting. I really thought that was it.
Yeah.
I can't explain. I can't figure out. I can't try to imagine a way in which not playing Kobbie, not giving Kobbie even 5 minutes makes sense. Especially so in 2 games, both of which we needed to score. Kobbie Mainoo has shown how many times not only that he can score, but he can make things happen in and around people's box in tight spaces. So both those games, they're scenarios where the other side is happy with the score, right? Arsenal were happy with 1-0. Fulham, I think, were okay with 1-1. They would have still counter-attacked, tried to get up, but they were okay with 1-1, right?
Yeah.
When in those scenarios, tight spaces, small spaces, look at him, bro. All you've got to do is look at that Liverpool goal, that turn, that quick swivel in the shot. Like, he's so good at it.
Stretford end as well,
Yeah. Kobbie
even
Mainoo
Leon.
is
Like Leon was a mad goal. When you look at that, like that's to get us in. That's to draw the game, and it's like
yes.
no one
And
else is doing that. Kobbie's doing that
against
though, which
Wolves.
is
Do you remember that?
Wolves.
The Wolves away.
Yep.
That one was unreal. Nutmegged my man. Drop of the shoulder and curled it into the box. So, listen, he is by far. Well, I don't know. It's hard to really put a sort of a measurement on it. But in terms of like talent and potential and how good they can become, Kobbie is right at the very, very top. Not to add that he's come through the academy legitimately through the academy. Like, he is Manchester bred and born. He was there from like 5 years old. That means something to this club. He's always meant something to this club, and it always should do. If he leaves, that record of or if he doesn't play or etc., whatever it may be, that record of what is it now, 80-something years that we've had an academy player contribute. Yeah, that's in trouble now, because you're looking at Tyler Fredrickson and Tom Heaton as your 2 players to get you through that, which is not good enough from a Man United. It's a part of the culture, it's part of the fabric of the club. And there's just like for example, there's no way you're trying to tell me that what Mason Mount done, Kobbie couldn't do in his own way. What Casemiro done, Kobbie couldn't do in his own way. And in fact, you know what? That game against Arsenal, right? And I've thought this often, right? That middle centre-back role steps into midfield so often. So often, right? Are you trying to tell me in that game against Arsenal, when you bring on Maguire, whoever it is that you bring on, are you not trying to tell me that a Casemiro or an Agate could drop in as the middle centre back, knowing it's the last minutes of the game, and then that will allow you to bring on a Kobbie
and chase it,
and chase it, So I don't think the system suits him, and I think that is a big problem, and I think that was also a problem from Ineos. When you bring in a manager, you need to look at your squad, look at the talents in your squad, make sure the system that manager wants to play can somehow introduce these players. So first of all, okay, you can say the system doesn't really suit him, and I agree with that. But even without the system not quote unquote sort of being right for him, you can find a place for him. There are ways where he can still get on the pitch. 2 games we need a goal, and he hasn't played a single minute. And I said this in a video myself. If I'm Kobbie Mainoo, I'm talking to my agent just to get a feel of things, right? And he hasn't signed his contract yet either, and that's concerning. So I just think system, no system, he has to get on the pitch. He started for England in the Euros final in his debut season.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, if he's not on the pitch, then what are we doing? Agate's getting on the pitch.
Yeah.
So,
That's the problem, innit? It's not just him playing, but who's playing ahead of him and how they're playing. Like I can sort of excuse the Arsenal game a little bit, because I can understand that Arsenal was starting to counter us a little bit, and there were times when they like Delict had to bail us out, or Lenny had to bail us out. So I get why Ugarte at that point would make a little bit of sense, but Ugarte and Harry Maguire at that point, that don't make any sense, and it don't make sense to anybody. But I think what is a bit mad with Kobbie, and in my personal opinion, Kobbie Mainoo is the most talented centre midfielder that we have, a pure centre midfielder, because Bruno's not that. Bruno's an attacking mid, and Mainoo is different. But he is the most talented midfielder that we've got. And in the last 10 years, one of the most talented academy grads that we've produced. And he is someone who, in his first season, if we go season by season, I thought he was overplayed in his first season. Like, I won't say that he was a standout in the first season with Ten Hag, but I'm not giving Ten Hag that credit. Like, this kid was thrown to the wolves, and he was just brilliant. Like, his first game, if people forget, it was just after Everton were deducted points, and we went to Goodison Park. We slapped him 3-0. He saved a goal on the line in about 20 minutes, and he set up Garnacho. Well, he set up Dalla to set up Garnacho for the overhead kick. Like, this kid was amazing, and he still is amazing. There's been no elements of when I've seen him in pre-season where he's gotten worse. He's filled out. He's looked bigger. He's looked stronger, more physical. He's looked good. And then last season, I saw that happening. I saw a Pedri Gavi situation where he was going to get a little bit burnt out, and I think he has been burnt out by what we've seen. And ultimately, it is a situation where now we have two in midfield, and I cannot believe, frankly, that the Fulham game has jarred me more than I thought it did, because I'm still thinking about it. But I cannot believe that Ruben Amorim watched that whole game. He brought on every midfielder, or every other midfielder got a chance but him. I don't understand it. I can understand starting with the same 11 that started against Arsenal, because you know what? I think they earned a start. I thought they played well. And Mount has played well so far. He's actually looked all right. I thought Mbeumo has been off the boil. I've not been impressed with Mbeumo so far, but it'll come. I have no doubt he'll be all right. Cunha's looked fantastic. I thought Seshko was just all over the place because he's got to learn. You're entitled to be all over the place. You just got it. It's fine. And Bruno was awful. I thought Bruno had a really bad game, one of his worst in a long time. And his head had gone from the penalty. And I made my opinions quite clear on that penalty. And I thought that was just ridiculous that he behaved the way he did. But what's done is done. At this point, I'm looking at Ruben now. I'm like, you have made a concerted choice to not play this kid. And I don't know what that reason is. Again, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You mentioned he hasn't signed a contract. Is that a problem? It has things, he will see more than what we're seeing. And I, we all have to be aware of that. We're not privy to every conversation. But in my opinion, like you said towards the end, and I agree 1,000,000%, you make this kid work. You find a way that this can work, and you make sure that he is able to work. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes about it. This is Kobbie Mainoo we're on about. He needs to be playing football. And when Ugarte comes on and he doesn't, or when Maguire, when I'm seeing defenders being changed out, when I'm seeing Luke Shaw being switched out, when he could be brought on, and you don't need to deviate from your system, because when we drop, and people forget this, when we're in a transition or we're defending a transition, we go to a 4, or when we're going forward, we go to a 4 at the back, and you can see it. It's clear as day. But then when you transition backwards, you turn into a 3 because you want to progress the ball there. Mainoo is the most progressive passer that we've got on the pitch in that area. He's probably the best in terms of his quick feet. He's best with close ball control, and he's got a shot on him, and he's got a goal in him, and he's got technique. And I don't see what's going on. So the one thing I'll say is with Ruben Amorim as well, a lot of people have jumped on the bandwagon saying he needs to go. He's not good enough. He's not this. I haven't turned. And I think Man United fans have been very lenient with this manager. I know he's had a half season and there's been some mitigating factors, but the boy lost us a European final and we finished 15th. We have been very lenient in the circumstances. Anyone who sings his praises, we're still singing him from Old Trafford. We're still 1-1 against Fulham when he brings on, I thought did he bring on Aiden Heaven maybe? I'm not sure. He brought on Heaven and I think Maguire. Yep. I still heard the Ruben Amorim chance. We haven't neglected this guy, and he's gotten far more grace than any manager that we've had in the last 5 to 10 years.
If this was Chelsea, they would kill him.
Yeah, well, we want to believe it. I think Man United, we just want to believe in what he's doing. But I'll tell you this now, if Kobbie leaves, or if that record that you said about, I think it's having an academy grad in the starting lineups, or in the
squad. Yeah.
In the squad, yeah. So having an academy grad in the squad. I've said this forever. Whatever manager loses us that, they should be sacked on the spot. I don't care. That cannot leave. That's Manchester United through and through. You cannot have a club that's had that happen since the Busby Babes and let that go. I don't care who you are. get out of the football club, no matter what happens. That's one thing. So we are a bit at risk at that because, like you say, when Onana comes back, you've got your 2 goalkeepers. Tom Heaton, as a homegrown, he's out. Tyler Fredrickson, I don't think he's good enough. I think he's okay, but he will leave as well. So I'm a bit scared if the Kobe Mainu is the only one, like you say. Sekou Kone, I don't know if he'll eventually be a part of it or anything like that.
Well. So I don't know if I don't really know how it works because I don't know if the likes of Cheeto or Sekou Kone count. I don't really know how that works because, like, for example, Aiden Heaven doesn't count.
No.
Cheeto won't. Sekou Kone, you say
Kone might. So
right,
you have to have a youth contract for over 2 to 3 years in the club that you've signed to, and then become a pro. If you join as a pro, then it doesn't count. So Aiden Evan joined on a pro contract. Chido, I think, as well joined on a pro contract, but Sekou Kone didn't. So I feel like that.
Right.
I feel like that would probably work. But you know, you've let Harry Amass is going to go. You've let Toby Collier go. You've let all these lot go, and I'm just thinking, what the hell is the plan? And I'll be honest, like I say, if that what's it called happens, if that rule or if that record goes, the manager goes with it. I'm so firm on that because that's a disgrace if that happens. I don't think Ruben Amorim would let it get there. If I'm honest, I think it's written into the contract of every manager to make sure that doesn't happen. That's my personal opinion. I think it is. But Kobe Mainu, if he leaves, let's just go into a world where deadline day, Kobe Mainu was left. He has agreed a deal to go to not even another Premier League club. Because I don't think it will actually happen. So let's just say he goes to Real Madrid, he goes to Barca, wherever it is, like, or Bayern Munich, which they like their English talent at the minute. That could probably happen. But let's say he goes. What's your reaction to that, and what's your reaction to the manager if that was to happen?
Complete and utter head loss. Like, listen. All right. So when we were first linked to Ruben Amorim, I was skeptical because I, as a football fan, like, forget about United for a sec, but as a football fan, I've never been more where I go, ooh, 3 at the back. Yeah, that's attractive. That's nice. And then you add in 3 at the back without wingers. Oh, that's again, I'm like, oh, that's even, like I said earlier, wingers are my favorite players ever. And also, I think there are some things which is important at United. For me, wingers is a big part of that. You think back to George Best. We've always had Ryan Giggs, Ronaldo, etc., etc. So I think that also was like, didn't sit absolutely perfectly with me. And then another thing that I wasn't really sure about is Jason Wilcock said we have a game model and we want that game model to be sort of followed out by the manager. So whatever manager comes in, we have a game model. Don't try to tell me that a 3 at the back system, which often requires slow build-up, very slow football, is the game model that you planned for Man United. Because if that's the game model you planned for Man United, then I don't know what, like,
that's not us.
You've not, it's not us. You either just completely neglected it, or you haven't got a clue about what the game model and what United is all about. Yeah. So I was already a bit like, I don't know, whatever. Like, I'll give him a go. He comes in, he's quite charismatic, speaks well.
That's the thing, though, bro.
He has the little hair flicks.
He speaks so well,
you know
I feel like, bro, the minute he started saying, "Okay, listen, lads, what we done in the last 6 months, we messed up. I get you. I told you the bad times were coming, though, and I fulfilled my promise." Now he says the good times are coming, and you see the first game against Arsenal, and you think, maybe that could happen. But then ultimately, bro, I'm not losing faith, but I'm starting to hear the dissenting voices because, and it's not just after, like, I'm directed to the camera now. If any of you are watching this thinking, bro, it's only 2 games into the season. No, we're not. We're about 20 to 30 games into this regime, and this man has fewer points than games. Don't piss me off with that sort of chat, because we have been
back-to-back games.
Exactly. We have been more than fair. We have been more than fair with Ruben Amorim, and he needs to give us something now. And you know what I want? Genuinely, all I want to see from my manager, and I agree that when it comes to a DNA of a football club, I do think it exists. I think that over time, you can get a person who comes in and alters the DNA. But depending on how big the club is, that's how much harder it's going to be to turn. So bigger clubs, Barcelona, us, like Ajax or a Real Madrid or a Bayern, you have the DNA. You have to fit that DNA, whether you like it or not. You're not going to be able to come in there and be different. straight away. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of patience and probably a lot of pain in order to get through that. But Liverpool's DNA, like that was Jurgen Klopp's football. That their DNA was all out attack, be intimidating, be scary, be in your face. That's what Jurgen Klopp came in and did. He called it something different. It was exactly what they do. Manchester United, I completely agree with you. We've never been a possession-based team. We have been, when the ball comes to us or when you screw up, we're going to pounce on you. It doesn't mean we're counter-attacking. It means our transitions are just better than yours because you don't even have to be attacking us. You could just have the ball in midfield. We'll nip it off you and we're going to run and do it. And I'm not going to lie, when I see Seshko, when I see his frame, when I see how quick he is, when I see him in the air, when I see Cunha with the ball, I get excited. When I see Mbeumo running at someone, I get excited. Ahmad, I'm excited. Dorgu, when I see his overlapping runs, I'm excited by that as well. The midfield two, for me, that is the engine room of your football club. And that is where, for me, the people who best represent your football club are supposed to be in the middle of the pitch, like having that fight with people. Roy Keane, the reason he was so good, he was great at all the little things, and he was a fantastic footballer, but he didn't just smash into people. He organized, he spoke, he led by example, he did all the things you're supposed to do. And I'm sorry, Casemiro, the minute I saw the man dive and trying to get a free kick and get a yellow card, this is World Cup chasing Casemiro. This is 5-time Champions League winning Casemiro. I was ashamed of him doing that. And this is me saying, like, at Manchester United, you talk about DNA. I think this is a club that wears suits to games. This is a club that wears a suit and tie when you're supposed to. This is a club where you're supposed to be a good person as well as a good human being, as well as a good footballer. We've always been foundationally made on that principle. You do not dive. I don't care who you are. You don't dive. And I'm seeing a diving midfielder, and I'm seeing a captain who, let's be real, has gotten us into good positions more than he's failed us. He's bailed us out more than he's failed us in terms of Bruno. 100% he has. So he's entitled to have a bad game every now and again. Fine. But then I'm seeing Ugarte come on and just pass it backwards, which is all he does. That's his job. That is what he's good at. Let him do it. The game wasn't there for him to do that.
You know what, though? Did you see that one ball he almost got through to Mbeumo?
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, hello, who's that? But you can't. Yeah, but we can't go base on that because that's very one-off kind of pass. Exactly. He never makes those passes. Yeah.
But then he also, we saw him like thread the ball in against Everton when it was the goal offside for Ahmad in the preseason tour. Where you thought, oh, maybe he's going to do that. It was he's not. Yeah. He's going to struggle to do the other bits. But ultimately, this just goes back to Kobbie Mainoo. That this kid typifies Man United. Like there's no player FC here. There's none of this. It's just if we were to put him to the side, if we were to sideline him in favor of what we're seeing, I think that's a massive deviation away from our DNA. And that's what I'm scared of. And I don't know if your fears are the same, but I'd be petrified if he was. If he doesn't start against Grimsby, doesn't start against Burnley, doesn't start in the Premier League, I'm scared.
You're bang on. It's not about Kobbie as a person. It's what Kobbie Mainoo represents at the moment at the club, which is a good, young, talented player who actually, like what you just said there, is a good person. Like first and foremost, like he is a
good
very
network around him.
Yeah, good, genuine, good family around him as well. Good person
family around him.
To have around the club. So it's more about what it represents than it is the actual player itself going. Another thing I'll say, like generally about the midfield, and kind of going back to what you said, like I find it difficult when I think about top teams, right? Their midfield is always a key component to dictating the tempo of the play, making things tick. So when we talk about the Man United of the past, right? Yep. We were amazing counter-attackers, right? We could speed it. We are like on the transition, amazing, right? But one reason why Paul Scholes was as great as he was because he'd received the ball off the back line. He would just wait a little bit. The moment he sees the right time to quicken up the tempo, he'll play a rapid, direct pass forward, which will get Rooney running, or get Nani running, Ronaldo running, whatever it may be. That doesn't mean, like you said, it doesn't mean we're always a counter-attacking side, but it meant we have the quality to create almost artificial transitional moments, if that sort of makes sense.
I like that.
Yeah. So we were, and with this team, it kind of like, so you see Bruno dropping into a centre-back position to get on the ball and make something happen. But ultimately, the passes don't go into midfield for our players to turn and dictate the tempo of the game. Which is when I go back to art, when I think of great teams, you've got a Busquets there. For us, it was a Carrick. It was a Tony Cruz. It was so many great players who sit in that midfield, receive the ball, turn and play.
A
In this
Gundogan would be a
system,
good
a Gundogan,
example as well. So yeah.
We in this system, we will never have that. For Bruno to get on the ball, he has to leave the midfield and come to the centre back positions to get on the ball and make something happen. Because ultimately, it's always going to be 2 against 3 in there, and you do not have the space or time to get on the ball, turn, and find a pass. Which again is another thing that Kobe's great. If you think right now, like Bruno, Kobe, and Agate, let's say, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Agate, but let's say it's a believer. That midfield 3 works because you've got Bruno as a 10, you've got Kobe as an 8, and you've got a natural side.
I need a midfield 3, like whether it's in possession or it's in a system. Like this is a bit of a myth with this system. Like go back and watch any sporting games, and even how we played against Arsenal. Like we do operate a midfield 3 quite a lot of the time because usually the centre back would come up and push, and that's why I think Lisandro Martinez coming back will have a massive impact on us. I think he'll be huge when he comes back, but I think that's only because he knows how to pass the ball. That's it. And he knows how to take risk, and he knows how to take calculated risk. Hopefully he doesn't take another bloody risk with his ACL, because I think if he does that again, that's going to be pretty problematic for him. But ultimately, we are now at a point where we're nearly at the end of the show. We've gone over a little bit, so apologies if you got to go and eat, brother, because I've got to do the same. But thank you very much for jumping on. But let's get your final questions in. We've got 5 more minutes, if that's all right with you, bro. We'll do another 5 minutes. Just if you got your questions in, either for myself or Nick, please do get it in the chat. If you're on TikTok, you want to come over, link in bio, come over to YouTube, subscribe also, because we are now on 8,374. So one of you did it. So come on, let's get some more in there, and just get your super chats in or get your chats in, because I can read them a lot more clearly. We're going to do at the end where we go through everyone who dropped a super chat to show some love, because that's what we love to do. But final question to you, my friend, is we are 5 days or 6 days left of the transfer window. How would you rate our transfer window so far? And what do you expect to happen towards the end in order for it to be what you would class a good window for us?
So far it's probably at a 6/7. Don't get me wrong, the players we've brought in have been really good.
Really good.
But we've got no sales done. And that's a lingering issue. Now, comes to the end of the window, if you get some good sales there at a good price, that could easily go up to an 8 out of 10. You bring another goalkeeper, then maybe 8, 8.5, something around then. I do think though it's a little bit worrying that we're just simply not linked to any midfielders. And the thing is, I kind of go back to like what I said before. Like, I don't necessarily think that a new midfielder solves a lot of the issues that we have in midfield. I think it is also systematic. But yeah, I would go something like that. If we bring in a goalkeeper and make some sales, it's a good 8. I like the players we brought in, especially Cunha. Cunha's been very bright.
Yeah, you know what? I'll agree with that. I think a 6 to 7 is fair. Getting a goalkeeper, I think, boosted it to an 8, because I think we do need that goalkeeper. The amount of times we're overcompensating because we're not sure of what the goalkeeper's going to do, it just angers me, and it makes everyone else look worse. And I think that's what the midfield ended up doing, which is why you get the gaps. But ultimately, I think if we get the goalkeeper, then great. If we get the goalkeeper, and this is, well, it shouldn't be dream world. It probably should have happened by now, but get the goalkeeper in, sell Sancho for whatever money you can get Garnacho finally out the door, because by the looks of things, I do think that's going to happen. Whether it's for the right amount of money, it's pure profit, it's probably going to happen. Get him out the door, and maybe Antony as well, with the loan with an obligation, with probably a loan fee, a significant one. Then you're generating at least 60 million, 70 million in sales across all of them. I think you have to get a midfielder with that amount of money coming in. If we do all of that, that's a 9 or 10 out of 10 window. But it ultimately comes down to what the manager does. And we've got a few questions in here, which is some of them are a bit crazy, asking, would Bruno and Kobe work in the midfield too? I think we've seen it probably won't. But Sunny S2045 says, will he play Seshko from the start on the weekend? If you're Ruben Amorim, would you play Seshko at the weekend?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Mason Mount gives you a lot, but I think in a game like this where you're expecting to have the majority of possession, you play your big man and get some crosses into him.
Exactly. I think it's going to be Az. And then the goalkeeper from Belgium is strongly linked with Galatasaray. The goalkeeper's by the name of Seny Lamens. I believe he's Az. I think we're going to sign him pretty sharpish. I'll be surprised if at the end of the Grimsby game, there isn't a here we go. And on Thursday that we don't bring him in. I'm pretty sure he's going to be as. He won't be ready for the Burnley game, probably not. But disc_27x49, just jumping on that, saying, when do you think Lamans will be done? I think this week. If it's not done by this week, then I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
But
he'll have a bit of a tough start.
Yeah.
Sorry, tough start to go into after the international break. Man City, Chelsea, some tough games. If he comes into the starting lineup straight away.
Yeah, which I don't think he will. A video is going out on my channel maybe in 2 days' time. I think he will personally. He's the goalkeeper to kick Bayinda out the door, for lack of a better phrase, and to knock on the door of Onana. I think that's what he's there to do. So I think Onana will play the derby, and we just got to accept that. Hasn't Lamans already agreed personal terms with us? It's close, but it's not done. Nothing has been signed, but hopefully it will happen. And final question before we leave. This is a very divisive one. Bruno to stay or Bruno to go?
Stay. Absolutely stay.
I
think he's still our best player, and I still think I would, and this goes again back to 2 in midfield, 3 in midfield, but like I would still just. It's hard to see him playing in a position where I know it doesn't suit him. When I know if you get him in his right position, there's so much more he can do for us. Yeah. But that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But I'm not gonna lie, I said this on a shoot recently, and I got a lot of flack for it. But I'm just gonna be very clear with it. If we got an offer of 100 mil plus for Bruno Fernandes, I'm taking it all day long. I'm sorry, I am. Just because it's money. We need the money through the door as quickly as possible. And I think we could actually put the money to good use. But that being said, I think he wants to stay another season. I think he's drawn a line in the sand. He is going to stay one more season at least at Man United. I think unless we get another season without diminishing returns, then we need to make sure that we sell him next season. I think that is the plan for us. And I think also that Kobe is being groomed for that role in future. And I just don't think Amram has done a very good job of communicating that by giving Kobe the minutes that he should be getting. But overall, it is the end of the transfer show. So first of all, thank you very much, Nick, for joining. It's gone over like half an hour probably than what I intended it to go for. But appreciate you sticking with me. And everyone in the chat, make sure you go and check out Nick's socials. All the links are down in the description. And as always, we've got to give some love to the people who show love to us. And that is Simajaya Red Devil, Man Like Cats, as always, and Luke is just constantly, Luke, I'm a plant, is constantly giving some love. So I appreciate you. Man Like Cats again. And Luke once more. You guys are just being absolute legends like you always are in the chats. And the next show will probably be after whatever happens against Grimsby, because will I do a watch long for Grimsby against Man United? No, I won't. I want to sit down and watch the game and hopefully just watch some good football and enjoy it. But we're away at Grimsby. I think we're going to concede, and I don't want you all to see that. So let's just all relax on it. And most likely we're going to do something to preview the next game coming up against Burnley at the weekend. And then we've got a good international break where loads of lives are going to be coming at you, because any excuse to chat about football is a good one. So Nick, we're definitely going to have you on again, mate. Of course, if you enjoyed it as well. But thank you very much for joining. Check out his socials in the link below. And to everyone who has stayed, a lot of you have, for the full 90-minute show it is now. Appreciate you. And please do subscribe. If you're on TikTok, we're going off now. So please do click the link in bio and subscribe to be part of the biggest and best non-toxic Manchester United community in the world. That's what we're building over here. So come over and join that. So thank you very much for showing the love that you have. And just at the end, Mandog with a little super sticker, because why not? Love for that, Mandog. Love to everyone who has joined in. Thank you very, very much. And I will see you, or we might see you, in the next show. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.